She said, "We need to postpone the wedding. My mom's sick." I expressed my sympathy. Then I saw her mom's social media post from a casino in Monaco. I sent the screenshot to her entire family with the caption, "So glad she's feeling better." The wedding was off, but not the way she planned. I, 31 male, am sitting here in what should have been my wedding week, drinking a beer and feeling oddly relieved. Instead of final venue checks and rehearsal dinners, I'm packing up boxes and canceling vendors. Let me back up. Tessa, 29, and I had been together for 4 years, engaged for 1. Wedding was set for this Saturday, classic fall wedding, 150 guests, the works. We dropped about $28 total, mostly from my savings since I make more. Everything was locked in. 2 weeks ago, Tuesday morning, Tessa called me at work. She was crying, full-on sobbing. "Babe, I have terrible news. My mom, she's really sick. The doctors found something during her routine checkup." My heart dropped. Her mom, Eleanor, 52, and I had a decent relationship. Not super close, but friendly enough. Oh no, what did they find? They're running more tests, but it doesn't look good. She's really scared and needs me. I hate to ask this, but can we postpone the wedding? Just until she's better? I can't imagine getting married without her there, and she needs treatment immediately. What was I supposed to say? Of course I agreed. Told her family comes first, we'll figure out the wedding stuff later. She cried harder, thanking me for being so understanding. The next few days were a blur of cancellation calls. Lost deposits everywhere. Venue, $5K. Catering, $3K. Flowers, $15K. The photographer was cool and said we could apply the deposit to a future date. Small victories, right? Tessa was staying with her mom to help out, barely responding to texts. When she did, it was short. "Mom's resting," or "at the hospital, talk later." I offered to come help, bring food, anything. She said her mom was too weak for visitors and didn't want anyone seeing her like that. I was worried sick. Sent flowers to their house with a get well card. Tessa texted a quick "thanks, Mom appreciated it." Then came Sunday night. I was mindlessly scrolling Instagram when I saw it. My buddy Derek had shared a story from some luxury travel account. The post was showcasing the Casino de Monte Carlo in Monaco. Beautiful sunset shot, champagne, the works. And there, in the third photo of the carousel, at a roulette table, was Eleanor, laughing, holding a martini, wearing a designer dress. The post was from that day. Time-stamped 6 hours ago. I stared at my phone for probably 10 minutes, refreshed the page thinking maybe I was seeing things. Nope, that was definitely Eleanor. I knew that laugh, that jewelry she always wore. Then I noticed who was tagged in the photo. At EleanorStyle55, her actual Instagram that I followed but she rarely posted on. Clicked on her profile. She'd been posting stories. You know, the ones that disappear after 24 hours? Except she forgot one thing, I could see them. Her stories from the past week. Airport selfie, adventure time. First class cabin, treating myself. Hotel room view in Monaco, paradise, spa day, much needed relaxation. Multiple casino shots, yacht party photos, designer shopping bags. The woman who was supposedly too sick to attend her daughter's wedding was living it up in Monaco, had been there for a week. My hands were shaking. I screenshot everything, every single story. Then I checked Tessa's Instagram. Her last post, a photo of medical pamphlets with the caption, "Staying strong for mom. Wedding postponed but family first. Thank you all for understanding." 182 likes. Dozens of comments offering prayers and support. I sat there for an hour, just processing. Then I did what any rational person would do. I created a group message. Added Tessa's dad Richard, her brother Kyle, her sister Zoe, her aunt Patricia, her cousins, my parents, my siblings, our entire wedding party, and about 20 mutual friends who'd been commenting support on her post. Attached every screenshot, all of Eleanor's Monaco stories, the casino photos, the yacht parties, the shopping sprees. My message, "So glad Eleanor is feeling better. Miraculous recovery." Then I turned off my phone and went to bed. Update 1, holy hell. The fallout was instantaneous and nuclear. Woke up to 89 missed calls, 200 plus texts. My phone was practically having a seizure. The first voicemail was from Richard, Tessa's dad, at 5:47 a.m. Hell is this? Eleanor's in Monaco. Call me now. Here's the thing about Richard and Eleanor. They've been divorced for 3 years. Messy split. Eleanor got alimony, a lot of alimony. Richard thought she'd been struggling financially based on her constant complaints and requests for extra money for medical expenses. The second voicemail was Tessa screaming, "How dare you? You had no right. This was private family business. You've ruined everything." Interesting choice of words. Not "this isn't what it looks like" or "I can explain." Just anger that I'd exposed it. Kyle, her brother, texted, "Yo, Teef. Mom told me she couldn't help with my student loans because of medical bills. She's at a yacht party?" Zoe called me directly around noon. She was the only calm one. "Adrian, I need you to know something. This isn't the first time. Last year when Mom supposedly had that emergency surgery, she was in Cabo. I found out accidentally, but she made me promise not to tell Dad or Kyle. I'm sorry. I should have warned you when you started dating Tessa." The plot thickens. By evening, Tessa showed up at my apartment. No warning, just pounding on the door. "Open up. We need to talk." I opened the door but didn't let her in. She looked rough. Mascara smudged, hair a mess. "How could you do this to me?" she demanded. "How could your mom fake being sick to go to Monaco? It's complicated. You don't understand. Then explain it." She started crying, but not sad crying, angry crying. The Monaco trip was planned months ago. It was non-refundable. Mom used her savings. So she lied about being sick? She is sick. She has anxiety. The trip was therapeutic. I actually laughed. Therapeutic gambling? You don't get it. You've never had anxiety. Mom needed this trip to decompress before my wedding. She was going to come back refreshed and ready. "Tessa, you told me she had something serious. We postponed our wedding. I lost thousands in deposits." Her face changed, got harder. "Well, maybe if you weren't so obsessed with having a huge wedding, the deposits wouldn't matter. This is really your fault for pressuring me into all that expensive stuff." Record scratch. "What? You wanted the country club venue. You insisted on the expensive catering. You picked the $3,000 flower arrangements. Because you made me feel like I had to, with your successful job and your money." There it was. The entitlement showing through. Get out. "We're still getting married, right? We can reschedule for spring?" "Tessa, you lied to me. Your mom lied to everyone. No, we're not getting married." She went from angry to panic mode real quick. "You can't call off our wedding over this. It was just a little lie. Mom deserved a vacation. She's been through so much with the divorce. The wedding's already called off, remember? You did that. I'm just making it permanent." She started screaming about how I was ruining her life, how she'd already told everyone we were getting married, how her friends would judge her, how she'd wasted 4 years on me. I closed the door. She stood outside yelling for another 10 minutes until my neighbor threatened to call the cops. But here's where it gets really good. Richard called me that night. Turns out, Eleanor's Monaco trip, funded by the extra alimony she'd been getting by claiming medical expenses. Fraud. He's taking her back to court. Kyle messaged me. "Bro, Mom owes me $15K in medical loan money. I've been eating ramen for months thinking I was helping with her chemo. I'm done with both of them." Even better, the venue called ME. Turns out when I canceled, I mentioned a family medical emergency. They felt bad and were going to refund half my deposit as a courtesy. But Tessa had already called them the same day. She told me about postponing and tried to reschedule for next year without telling me. When they mentioned the refund during her call, she said, "Oh no, keep it as credit for our new date." She was planning this before she even told me about the illness. Update 2. The entitlement escalation has been absolutely wild. So after I went public with everything and ended the engagement, Tessa and Eleanor went into full damage control mode. Eleanor posted this long Facebook post about how she has chronic anxiety disorder and the Monaco trip was doctor recommended for her mental health. She actually wrote, "Adrian's toxic masculinity prevented him from understanding invisible illnesses. Lady, there's literally a photo of you doing shots off an ice luge on a yacht." But the real circus started when Tessa realized I was serious about the breakup. First, she tried the guilt trip, sent me this long email about how I'd abandoned her in her time of need, and how she was suffering from caretaker fatigue. Her mom was literally on vacation. She said I should be more understanding because her family processes stress differently. When I didn't respond, she switched tactics. Started texting about our shared assets. We don't have any shared assets. We don't even have a joint Netflix account. But she claimed the engagement ring was a mutual purchase because she helped pick it out. She pointed at it in the store. I paid $8 for it. The deposits for the wedding were joint investments in our future. I have receipts showing I paid everything. My apartment had become our home, and she had tenant rights. She's not on the lease and was staying there 3 to 4 nights a week. The weekend trip we'd booked for December was her property because it was a birthday gift. Her birthday is in March. I forwarded everything to my lawyer friend who literally responded, "Elmo." Then came the family attacks. Eleanor started calling my mother. They'd met maybe 3 times total. Eleanor was sobbing about how I was destroying her daughter's future, and how could my mother raise such a heartless son. My mom, absolute legend, responded, "Maybe if you'd raised an honest daughter, we wouldn't be here. Also, how was Monaco? The photos looked lovely." Eleanor hung up and blocked her. Patricia, Tessa's aunt, tried to play mediator, called me saying this was all a misunderstanding and that every family has their quirks. I asked if lying about cancer was a quirk. She said I was being dramatic, that Eleanor never said it was cancer specifically. I sent her the text where Tessa literally used the words, "It might be cancer, we're waiting for results." Patricia, well, anxiety can feel like cancer to the person experiencing it. I hung up, but the peak entitlement came when Tessa showed up at my work. Security had to escort her out. She came in around lunch, marched past reception, told them she was my fiancée, and cornered me in the break room. Started loud talking about how I was financially abusing her by stealing the wedding funds and leaving her with nothing. My coworkers were stunned. She was making a whole scene about how she'd quit her part-time retail job to support me. She quit because she didn't like her manager, and now had no income because of my betrayal. Security arrived. She told them she was my fiancée and had a right to be there. They asked me if this was true. Ex-fiancée, and no, she doesn't. As they escorted her out, she screamed, "You'll pay for this." My mother knows lawyers. Plot twist from Zoe, still the only sane one. Eleanor doesn't know lawyers. She knows a paralegal from her book club who does real estate closings. The revenge tour wasn't over though. Remember those wedding deposits I lost? Well, I started calling vendors to see if anything could be salvaged. The photographer was still cool about applying credit to future events. The caterer had actually felt bad and offered a partial refund when I explained the situation. But the venue? Oh, the venue was interesting. Turns out Tessa had called them again. This time, pretending the wedding was back on. Tried to access the credit she thought was there. When they told her I'd officially canceled and requested any possible refund be sent to me, she lost it. Started threatening to leave bad reviews, saying they were stealing from a bride, etc. They recorded the call, sent it to me as a courtesy, with a note. "We're refunding your full deposit. Nobody should have to deal with this." $5K back in my pocket, and a recording of Tessa screaming at a venue coordinator about how they were ruining her special day. And she'd make sure no one ever books there again. I forwarded the recording to Richard, not to be petty, but because he deserved to know what his daughter had become. His response, "I'm sorry, Adrian. I failed as a father. Eleanor poisoned her with this entitlement. I'm cutting them both off." Final update. It's been a month since the wedding that never was should have happened. Time for the final update, because this story needs its ending. After the work incident, I knew I needed a restraining order. Filed the paperwork with documentation of her showing up at my home and work, the harassing messages, and the recordings from the venue. Granted temporarily. Court date set for permanent one. But Tessa couldn't help herself. 2 weeks ago, she created a fake Instagram account and started messaging my female coworkers, telling them I was abusive, that I'd stolen from her, that I'd isolated her from her family. One coworker, Harmony, immediately forwarded me the messages. The messages were unhinged. Claimed I'd forced her mother to go to Monaco to separate them. Said I'd manipulated the wedding vendors to keep their money. Accused me of emotional abuse for exposing family medical information. Then she made her biggest mistake. She messaged my ex, Jenna, who I dated before Tessa. Still friendly, we grabbed coffee sometimes. Tessa knew this and had always been jealous. Tessa told Jenna that I'd been cheating with her throughout our relationship. That's why I'd canceled the wedding, because I was planning to leave Tessa for Jenna. Jenna, absolute hero, played along. Got Tessa to admit in writing that she'd lied about her mom's illness, that the whole thing was planned, that she'd wanted to postpone the wedding because, wait for it, she'd been talking to her ex, Dimitri. He'd been going through something, and she wanted to be there for him, without the pressure of wedding planning. The Monaco trip? Eleanor had invited Dimitri. They were all there together. The family photos Zoe found later confirmed it. There's Dimitri in the background of the yacht party. Tessa was planning to use the postponement to figure out if she wanted to get back with Dimitri. If not, she'd just reschedule the wedding with me for spring. I was the backup plan. Jenna sent me everything, then posted it all on her public Instagram with the caption, "When the trash takes itself out." It went semi-viral in our city. Tons of people knew about our wedding, had been invited, had sent gifts. The humiliation was complete. But wait, there's more consequences. Remember Richard taking Eleanor back to court? Well, the Monaco documentation I'd provided was Exhibit A. Turns out she'd claimed medical expenses for the exact dates she was traveling. Fraud. The alimony got reversed. She now owes him money. Eleanor tried to sell her house to pay for legal fees. But Kyle, beautiful, petty Kyle, had filed a civil suit for the $15,000 she'd borrowed under false pretenses. Lien on the house. Can't sell until it's resolved. Tessa, now exposed and humiliated, tried one last Hail Mary. She contacted my cousin about buying the engagement ring from me since it was meant for her. My cousin told her I'd already sold it and donated half to a cancer charity in Eleanor's honor. I actually did this, felt poetic. The restraining order hearing was last week. Tessa showed up with Eleanor. No lawyer, couldn't afford one apparently. Tessa tried to claim I was the aggressor, that I'd stalked her mom's social media and harassed her family with private information. The judge looked at the evidence, the messages, the recordings, the work incident, Jenna's screenshots, restraining order granted. 2 years, no contact. As we left court, Eleanor couldn't help herself. Shouted across the parking lot, "You'll regret this. Tessa was the best thing that ever happened to you." I stopped, turned, smiled. "Tell Monaco I said hi." Current status. Tessa is living with Eleanor, who's living with her sister Patricia, because the house is tied up in legal issues. Kyle hasn't spoken to either of them since he found out about the money. Zoe sent me a thank you card for finally exposing the truth. Richard is in therapy, genuinely working through the guilt of enabling this behavior. Dimitri apparently dumped Tessa via text after the Instagram exposure. I got back about $11 of my deposits. My company gave me extra PTO days for personal distress. Started dating Harmony from accounting last week. The one who forwarded me the first messages. She asked me out. The funniest part? Last I heard from Zoe, Tessa was trying to become an influencer. Posted a video about surviving narcissistic abuse that got 12 views. The comments were all people calling her out with screenshots of her lies. Eleanor posted about starting a travel blog. It has one post about Monaco that literally no one has read except the lawyer using it as evidence. Do I feel bad? Not even a little. They had every opportunity to be honest, to be decent, to just not lie about cancer, to go party in Monaco. The bar was underground and they still couldn't clear it. The wedding would have been this past Saturday. Instead of saying, "I do" to Tessa, I was on a beach vacation with Harmony. Used some of the refunded deposit money. Posted lots of photos, made sure they were all public. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. Thanks for following this insane journey. Remember folks, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And always, always check their mom's Instagram stories. Peace out from the guy who dodged a massive bullet. P.S. Harmony thinks this whole story is hilarious and has already made "Tell Monaco I said hi" into an inside joke. She's a keeper.